Well, you can take it a number of ways, I suppose. We didn't think we played the way we should have for the whole game last week. And this week, the pleasing thing was we were able to play 4 quarters of football against a side that had multiple injuries from the previous week. 5 players dropped out. Not too sure why 2 or 3 others did after the first 2 were injured, but clearly they were all injured. And they got a couple more. It's the top side playing the bottom side in wet conditions. So I suppose if you're going on the trend of the year, we should have won the game, and we did, and we should have won it by percentage-wise. I suppose you'd suspect that we should have won the game comfortably, but
that much in those conditions?
Well, I'm not too sure about that. I just think the score line at the moment in AFL football, it has to be a worrying trend for the AFL. It has to be. This is not going to bring football people to the football. Do you get any delight out of it? No, I don't. We didn't. We discussed it at half time. Just that we were. I don't know what we were in front at half time. We were 70 points in front at half time. It was more so. There was no suggestion of rubbing their nose in it or trying to be humiliate or anything like that. It was just simply just to go about your role, make sure that you played the football that's needed to be playing for Collingwood, and that's where we left it. But two new sides by next year, I think consideration has to be given to how the draw is operated, who plays who. I said before, the game's too long. It's far too long. Most people would have turned it off. Collingwood people probably wouldn't, but we're here to, we're entertainers, we're not masochists. Every dog has his day. I've travelled before and been belted over here and that sort of stuff, so I suppose things have turned around, but as a purist, you'd like to see games of football that are relatively even. And Port, unfortunately, were hit with a lot of injuries, and I'm not too sure how much the salary cap they paid. We know we paid the top. So I don't know really what we got out of the game.
So that's the broader issue, though. You think that the gap between the haves and have-nots now is just too big?
Believe me, it's going to get worse. It'll get worse when free agency comes in. History just shows, in any sport, players who want to change clubs don't change clubs necessarily for money, they change for success. And if the money's there, they'll do that as well. But it makes the top side stronger, it makes the bottom sides weaker. We've seen it in European soccer, we've seen it in other codes. And unfortunately, I think we're going to create something that's not what it's ideal for the competition. This is about. I'm not bemoaning we're 17-1. Believe me, it's a great year that the boys have had so far. They've earned the 17-1. They've worked very, very well. They've worked well together. It's not easy backing up after last year. And it's a full credit to the players, full credit to the club. But I think at the end of the day, we all want to see. This is not isolated. If this was isolated, we'd just dismiss it. We're seeing far too much of this.
What do you try to take out when you know that the game's won? Do you change what you want to try to get out of it?
No. We don't change the systems. If things are working, we enhance them. If things aren't working, we try to mix them up. We also try to put more players through more positions to become multi-positional players, which we've intended to do pre-season. And it's not that we haven't saved it up for tonight. I can assure you this has been quite consistent right throughout the year, but it's unusual to take 2 ruckman. Now, a lot of reasons. Darren Jolly's grandmother died during the week. She was buried on Friday, so his mind would have been sort of stretched a bit, I reckon, in regard to his emotional state. He also didn't travel with us for another reason. His young daughter was quite ill, and he actually stayed. He only flew over today. Chris Tarrant, had issues, and Ben Reed's grandfather was buried during the week. Grandmother was buried through the week. So there's a lot of reasons why we've elected to play the side we did today, and that was more for Cameron Wood to come in and ease the load, if you like, on all our tools, because it's a domino effect. He plays there, Brown then is able to go back and relieve Reed and so forth. So we went for a player who played pretty well 2 weeks ago.
Mick, you mentioned Chris Tarrant. You coached him as a teenager, then into his mid-20s. He's back now as a almost 31-year-old. What changes have you seen in Chris since you first saw him in late 99 or the early 2000s?
Well, as far as maturity goes, I can't compare him to anyone. He is out there by himself. He was, and I've said this publicly, and I've said it to Chris too, he was very hard. He was very hard to break into the Chris Tarrant that, as a coach, I believe that I needed to be. I've always prided myself on the ability to work with young men and find out what makes them tick and give them a little bit of latitude, whichever way it is, to enhance their development. And Chris was very hard, but since he's come back, and he's no doubt matured in Western Australia, he's been everything that you would like a young player, or like a player to be coming back into your football club. Highly professional, very team orientated, no trouble, absolutely dedicated to wanting to succeed, and that success really is measured in premierships with him, which he hasn't got, so that's what he's after. But it's a terrific result for him.
You mentioned games being too long as far as the Lions are at the moment. What do you see?
Well, so I don't see. We can say the blowouts. Then we look at the games. I mean, some of them were going. A lot of quarters go 30 plus minutes. How does that work out? We play 20 genuine minutes and we're going 30 minutes. There is a multitude of areas that you can reduce game time where people don't get sick of blowouts or get bored with the game. Most top line sports in the world are over within an hour and a half or a bit over, unless there's time on or added time. A draw or whatever the case may be. We cater for the draw. It's a draw. That's it. We finish the game. But we're playing 2+ hours. 2+ hours. I just think that we might murder our game in its present state. So there are a lot of opportunities. I won't discuss them here. There's things that for a different forum.
You seem to have a lot of competition for spots this year, maybe even more so than last year. It's been a fair guess.
No, I don't think you're far off it. We probably had a lot of senior players who played, if you like, the 22 at the end of the year, and the players that fell out were generally highly experienced players. Bree, Lockyer, Meadows, Fraser, and then we lost Simon Pressey coming through injury. There's a couple of young blokes. But this year, the players that are in and out of the side are young. We're really blooding a lot of young players. I think we made more changes to our squad than any other premiership side in history. I'll stand corrected on that, but I think that's the case. We've got 12 players. And we've seen the introduction of 3, I think, this year, in Fasolo, Rounds and Keith. I think that's 3. Along with Cracker, of course, a mature age player. So, as much as the reserve side won't make the finals and have won only 3 games, we're continually having 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 to pick from, which is very, very encouraging for the future.
Any more guys?
Thanks, lads.
Thank you.